Welcome to episode 46 of the Old Fashioned Podcast. We're on video again today because I am joined by my buddy, longtime friend.
Long time?
I feel like I've known you for more than 20 years at this point.
I feel like I've known you my whole life.
Yeah, basically. Yeah,
I mean,
I've known you since I was 17. So
I got a year on you, right?
you're 41?
Yeah.
I'm 40.
Yeah, so
You were 18. I was 7. Yeah, so more than 20 years.
And I think I even heard about you before I met you through your wife. Like, oh, you're all the old New York friends, you know? I was like,
Yes.
oh, this guy.
The old New York friend.
Yeah.
So Grant and I have known each other for years. Grant is the bassist in the band Underoath, longtime friend, video game friend, hockey buddy. He's probably the only person in Florida that I can actually talk hockey with and go to hat tricks and hang out with. But you're busy, I'm busy, so we don't get to do it as often.
We all have families.
I went, by the way, when they played the Islanders like 3 weeks ago.
Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I went and we happened to sit next to the loudest Long Island Islanders fans that flew down for the game.
Is it still I haven't been to a game, I've been privileged to go to like club seats a lot and suites lately when I do go, which is not that frequently, but I haven't done a lot of the Northeastern teams.
Mm-hmm.
Is it still like a 50-50 almost?
No, there was more Bolts fans this time than ever, but the Islander fans were there. I noticed this time the Bolts fans were actually more rowdy than the Islander fans.
Really?
Yeah, because they were...
Who was winning? That's the question.
Oh, the Bolts were kicking their ass.
Okay.
But the guys like 3 rows back was like 1985, blah, blah, blah. And he was like more like Suck Island and stuff like that. And I'm just cracking up because I love that stuff. But the woman next to me was like fired. She's like, "You shut your fucking mouth." I was like, "What part of Long Island are you from?" She's like, "Oh yeah, how'd you know?" Just know these things. So
we've built a decent fan base. Obviously, 2 Cups helps
slightly.
A lot of bandwagon guys, but you take what you can get down here. I'd rather take bandwagon fans than having overwhelmingly other teams' fans coming for vacations down here.
Yeah, that still happens with the Bucks.
Yeah.
When I go see the Bucks play the Giants, it's just 50-50.
Yeah.
If not, I've gone when it's like 60-40 in favor of the Giants.
It's always funny too because you would go to the Lightning games when they played the Rangers or Flyers or Islanders, whatever, and we would lose. This is back before we were good, and we would lose, and it would still be somehow like 2 drunk Flyers fans fighting each other.
Oh yeah,
in a Lightning game that they're winning.
It's Philly. It's the Flyers. Come on.
Yeah.
I once went to. Well, actually, before we continue that, KingsCoastCoffee.com. All the holiday stuff is out. Go grab some now because that cocoa is very limited. We do not have a ton left, but holiday blend, 12 days of Kings Coast coming up. KingsCoastCoffee.com. And guess what? If you are a subscriber in the Kings Club, you get information before everyone else. So you may want to do that, especially before the 12 days of Kings Coast. So KingsCoastCoffee.com for all your holiday needs. I once went to Citizens Bank Park, the baseball stadium for Philly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
To see the Mets play. I brought Audrey, my oldest, when she was like 4-ish.
Yeah.
And they were calling me the C word in front of my 4-year-old daughter.
Wow.
After I drove 2.5 hours to go see the Mets play at a day game on a Thursday.
Nice.
Meaning nobody was there because baseball. And they still were shouting at me.
Gotta let you know.
Philly.
Only city where I've ever been booed on stage because I was wearing like a Stamkos, just like a jersey shirt playing. I wasn't even I don't have a mic on stage. I'm not saying anything. Right. I'm just wearing a shirt. I'm just getting chants of Go Flyers and fuck Lightning. Like you paid to come see us. So
these are the same people that booed Santa Claus. Don't forget that. And they have a holding cell in the basement of Lincoln Financial Field. Did you know that?
No.
Okay, so there's a holding cell in the basement,
yeah.
And there's a judge working on Sundays during the game.
Jeez.
That's how crazy Philly is.
Brotherly love.
Yeah, man. It's Philly.
Yeah.
But it's funny because you go to Philly. I have so many friends from Philly from the band days. You know a bunch of them. Remember like Justin Krause and that whole crew?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so like you go to Philly and there's all these wonderful people, and then you go to a sports game in Philly.
Yeah, Me Without You, like the nicest guys I've ever met. They're just like, oh yeah, from Philly.
Didn't they? They had their last tour, right?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, that was a hell of a run.
Those guys were like super big, like sports. Some couple of them, like Mike was a big sports fan. Like the most passive dudes ever. I'm like, you're from Philly? Are you?
Wasn't
sure?
their drummer a big sports guy too?
Ricky? I think Eagles. Not, I think Eagles.
I remember talking sports with somebody in their
guitar
band.
player. Yeah, I'm like,
yeah. So, but yeah, Grant and I have known each other for years. I remember your old band.
We were actually talking about that the other day on Underoath, guys, because I joined Underoath. I left that band.
James did too, though, didn't he?
They had kind of, well, I basically started the band, wrote all the songs, and then a spot opened up Under Oath, and I tried out for it and got the gig. And obviously, Under Oath was going places. This band was not. I mean, it was new. Well, either way,
We understand. Also, Seth was in that band, so.
And the band was called Becoming Antithesis. And
wait, when was it Love Lies Bleeding?
It was after me.
Oh, you weren't in Love Lies Bleeding?
No, that changed over to a different name. So I remember Aaron always tells this story. The old singer, Ian.
Ian. Should we? Yeah, we're going to tell them. Ian is my wife's ex-boyfriend, so continue.
Yes. He was in a car with Aaron at some point, and Aaron was like, just being friendly, like, so what does Becoming Antithesis mean? And Ian looks at him and goes, it's about being like the next big band in Tampa until Under Oath comes and steals your guitar player. And that was his answer. And Aaron's like, all right, well, you can go fuck yourself. Cool.
On brand.
Yeah, exactly.
So you started there. I remember when you joined, I was so happy for you. And then I saw you more because you were coming to New York, and I'd see you on tour.
The downtown, local 7.
The downtown.
All the hot spots.
Oh my gosh, you're bringing me back now. That's, I also got to meet actually I had known Chris before that from the black metal, death metal days.
Yeah.
So I knew Chris pretty well, and you, and then over time, your first album was They're Only Chasing Safety, right?
Yeah, I joined after Changing of Times recorded before it was released. So I was like in that spot where I basically had to go support an album that I wasn't, whatever, was, for like 2 years we were on that album. So first album I was on was Chasing Safety, yeah.
Yeah, because the Changing of Times, I remember, was the roulette of bassists from various other bands that I knew.
Yeah, that was an interesting time. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and then Spencer joined for They're Only Chasing Safety.
Mm-hmm. James as well.
Too. And you.
There was a lot of switching going around that whole 2 years.
Because Tim was on Changing of Times, right?
Yeah, Tim was there.
Aaron and Chris
were there,
and then you, James, and Spencer joined.
Yeah,
okay, so that's when everything catapulted. You guys blew up.
Yeah, Chasing Safety for sure. I mean, I think it was just right time, right place kind of thing. That whole scene was blowing up and kind of invading the Warped Tour scene.
Yep.
And I remember, we got on Warped Tour and it just, and blew up is a relative word, obviously, but yeah, it's for what my expectations of being in a band or doing anything ever, it highly exceeded everything. So yeah.
Well, Warped Tour and MTV starting to play more of the music that we were into at the time was probably the big two factors.
Yeah.
I remember going to Warped Tour.
Thanks, internet.
Oh yeah, the internet too.
Yeah, that helped out a lot.
Downloading songs from mp3.com and playing them in Winamp.
Yeah.
I remember going to Warped Tour. Oh, God, I don't even know what year it was. It was early 2000s. And it was MXPX, NoFX. I couldn't even tell you a lot of the other bands Mustard Plug and that whole punk ska was the big thing. And then it felt like right after that was when metal and some of the harder stuff started to come into Warped Tour. And you had you guys, Hawthorne Heights. I'm trying to think of other bands. Glassjaw started to come onto that scene.
Yeah, it was Poison the Well, Thursday, Thrice, all those. I am such a nerd. I didn't even know what I think I may have heard of Warped Tour, but I had never been or even really knew anything about it until we played it.
Right.
And I remember going to it. We played 2 dates on Changing of Times. And obviously we played on a truck bed to maybe 50 people if we were lucky. But I remember walking around and seeing I think Glassjaw was a main stage there, and Poison the Well, and starting line there was a whole drive-through record stage.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And I was just these bands were the biggest bands.
That was like
in the world.
Midtown and that whole
Yeah.
Homegrown. Wow. You just took me back. Woo, I forgot about Drive Thru. Because then Drive Thru and the other big label in that genre was Fueled by Ramen.
Yeah.
They were the two like big. I don't know what you'd call that anymore. They just shove everything into the word emo now, and it makes me insane.
Yeah. Well, I mean, full circle. If you want to talk the cruise I just did, which is like emo, which is the headliners are Us, Dashboard, and Newfound Glory, which are not any of the same artists at all or style.
But do you remember when we were coming up, emo? It was like Braid, Sunny Day Real Estate, Mineral.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And now it's like My Chemical Romance emo. I'm like, no, it's not, you petulant child.
Machine Gun Kelly. Like what?
What?
It was an emo girl song, I think, or something like that. I don't know.
Oh my god.
I think it's just a very loose term for like alternative now.
Yeah, I guess because alternative's relegated to the 90s.
Yeah.
So I guess it's the post 90s, early 2000s.
The Gen X or Gen Z. What are we on?
They have changed the classification of what you and I are so many times. Like we were millennials at one point. I think we are millennials.
I think it's 80 is millennial.
So
we're millennials.
But we were Gen X. We're not Gen X anymore.
No, we degraded.
Weren't we like Gen Y or something? I don't remember.
What does Boomer start? Where does that go?
I mean, we're the next generation of boomers, and we're already doing old people's. Like you were saying, like I need to do before we recorded. We were talking about Halloween with the kids, and Grant was like, "I need to be buzzed when I do Halloween." I was like, "Me too." Yeah. I had the High Noon in my hand and the High Noon in the back pocket.
Take my margarita and my multivitamin, mix them together, and get through Halloween.
Oh, you know you're old because like back in the day, me and him, we'd go get drinks, we'd hang out. Like if you played Long Island or New York City or something. And now we're sitting here and talking about doing Halloween with our kids and what vitamins we take.
Yes. Oh yeah.
So you know you've reached a certain point in your life when you're doing that. So Chasing Safety, Warped Tour, and then how did things? I just remember. The first time I was like, oh my God, I know those guys and they're on MTV right now.
Can I pivot for 1 second?
Pivot away.
We're talking about being old. I want to just embarrass myself here.
By all means, I do.
So my daughter's stepdaughter 7, and she wears Vans. She wants to be alternative or whatever, and she can't tie the laces good or like the Vans always come with like super long laces.
Yeah.
So I went online and I found those like fake ones. Like the rubber things, and definitely bought a pair for myself and use them. And now I'm like Mr. Comfort Guy. Whatever's convenient and comfortable, that's what I want in my life.
See, I just do slip-ons like that, or I tie them once and that's it. I will never tie them again. They've been tied.
They're
like
just
these,
knotted.
I think I tied them about 1.5 years ago, and now it's just whoop on and go.
Yeah,
and we're good to go. Yeah, no, that's the saga of getting old is.
I'm not trying to bend over and tie my shoes. All right.
Why would you do that?
I can't really. So
even during bath time with the kids, like you have to get the perfect angle. Your back really starts to hurt.
Oh yeah.
And then if they're fighting you with washing up, it's like you're at this angle and you're like, God, that hurts. So yeah, I feel you, dude. I feel you.
You're old.
We're yeah.
Sorry, go back to what you're saying.
Well, no, I look. The other day I was thinking, I was like, my God, I'm closer to 50 than I am to 20. This is. Which will play into a question I have for you later. But things are blowing up. What was the moment where you were like, this is my career?
I was in Hartford, Connecticut. I was dating some girl. I don't remember. And I went to see her. We went to a show at this place called Toad's Place. It was like a dive bar. We played there before.
I've been there.
Oh, nice. We're at a show there, and I got a text from our manager that said Chasing Safety had hit 100,000 records. And that was for me, like, there's different moments on that whole summer, but that was the moment where I was like, holy crap. Like, 100,000 was like a number that, like, because Chaining of Time sold like maybe, and it's before Chasing Safety, it sold maybe 30,000, maybe. And I remember because we get the SoundScan numbers every week from the label and be like, oh,
SoundScan numbers.
Yeah. Oh yeah. From the AR, and we're like, what do we do? Oh, we sold 200 copies this week. And then
remember the sheets for merch?
For
the SoundScan stuff.
Yeah.
Those were so annoying.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, continue. I just had to commiserate with you there.
But I remember getting that message, and then at that time, like Chasing Safety, just for relevance, like Chasing Safety was selling like 4,500 to 6,000 copies a week. So it was just like, it was like surreal.
Yeah.
And there's different moments. Like when Define the Great Line came out, and we were on Billboard like number 2 or whatever. Like I remember being on Warped Tour, being the phone call then, and just being like, "What?" Like they're like, "Oh, you're gonna do almost 100,000 in the first week," and it was like,
and you were freaking out about 100,000.
Oh yeah, well that album leaked too, so we were just like, the whole thing was like, is this gonna do anything? Like, are we screwed? And then like it somehow worked and did better because of it. So the whole thing is just like, there's just, you have moments, like anyone in your journey where you're just like, that was like core memory where I just like, you really felt it here.
What's the best show? Like the one that sticks out in your mind?
Gosh,
the one that's.
I hate these questions.
I know, but I have to ask them.
Best show. Let's see. One of my favorite shows was on that summer on the Warped Tour. We played Atlanta, and it was like towards the end of the tour. So we had been like, the record had been out, and like the shows were getting better and better and better, and like we were like feeling more solidified in who we were. And we played this like pavilion, like pre-made stage for the Smart Punk stage in Atlanta, and it was a wood like pre-made like barricade, and
like the DIY Cornerstone stages,
like you put in front of your. I'm not even trying to, like, literally like someone made it for a house, like, you know what I'm saying? It was like literally just like a wood fence basically, and I don't know how old it was or whatever, but we start getting ready to step, and somehow there's like, there's like probably a couple thousand people there waiting, and within like 2 songs the whole thing had broken. Like the barricade was just broken apart because it's wood and it was crap. And security came over, and they start freaking out, and then like the head of Warped Tour, like security came over, and they're turning off our amps to get us to stop, and we keep turning them back on. It was this like on stage fight, and then we got like sent to Kevin Lyman, who runs it, and like told we were like could be arrested for inciting a riot and all.
Kevin said that to you?
That's what we were told, maybe by security. I don't know if it was Kevin or not. I don't want to put that on him, but I remember like that was a thing, and it was like, but at that point we were just like dumb, and not dumb, just fearless,
young.
I guess.
Young and fearless, and you were on top of the world.
I mean, we played shows in like the same mentality where we'd play shows with like, I remember playing with the U's in arenas, and they have the general seating and they have the floor seating, and we would just tell people, jump. They can't all stop you. Jump down, which you're supporting. You should never say that if you're not the headliner. Especially, you should never say that, period. But if you're not the headliner, like,
right, because the show gets shut down
for it. Yeah. So, but that was probably one show. That was the first show where I was like, it felt just like chaos, and it was cool.
But good chaos.
I loved it. Oh yeah, it was all about it.
Yeah. No, I mean, I was there for the tour when you guys were gonna break up before you got back together for the
JK.
I was gonna wear the shirt, but Danielle's like, no, you're just gonna look like a fanboy if you wear that shirt. No one's gonna get the joke, the relationship that you and I have, that I was taunting you. But that show was wild. That was probably my favorite time seeing you guys, because I think there was a bit of emotion because there was the potential that this is the last time we're playing New York City, because it was at Irving Plaza, if I remember correctly. And you got me up in the balcony, thank God, and so I didn't have to mosh with the plebs. I could just hang out with my drink.
The old folks up there.
Yeah, it's like a geriatric retirement home on the balcony. When Blink tickets hit, I was like, man, I'm just gonna go to our friends at the Lightning, and that's how I'm gonna go to this Blink thing, because I'm not buying tickets. So when I was talking to them, I was like, could I get like a balcony like somewhere away from the floor situated? And they're like, well, yeah, we can hook you up, not a problem.
Cushion seat somewhere, that's all I want.
Yeah, I'd like to sit during this performance if possible. But I would love to see Blink. Yeah. That was my favorite show of you all, and just the energy was good, and I remember everyone just singing along, and I'm sure it was like that entire tour.
It was I remember playing the Jana show, when like the breakup show, or you want to call it hiatus at this point.
Didn't you have 2 Janice shows on that tour?
I think just one. I can't remember. I think just one. I just remember it being whatever the last one was. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if I'm just like suppressed, but like I don't get like there was guys like crying and like hugging. And I was just like, all right, I'm gonna go to work now, do my job, and
Yeah.
you know, I don't think it sunk in, honestly. I think that was the thing, you know. I was just like, I'm gonna go play this show, and then I'm gonna go play hockey tomorrow because I'm back home now,
Right?
And then like 2 months later, like, oh, I'm not going back out. Like this isn't happening. I have to find a job.
Yeah.
know?
And I remember you had a job, and I think that was right when, like, around when I had moved down.
Yeah.
No, I had moved down a little bit before your comeback show.
Yeah, you were
the secret
down.
one.
Yeah.
I had just moved though, like a few months prior.
Before like when we got back together.
When you played at Crowbar, when no one knew the secret show.
2016.
Yeah, because I moved December of 15.
Okay.
So it was right before.
Was that late you moved down?
Yeah.
Okay.
I started talking about it in August.
Because 13 was like the breakup or whatever.
Right, and I had been there for a few years at that point. I remember because I had seen the Glassjaw midnight show, like, and your show were like the two big Irving Plaza shows I went to when I was married.
Yeah.
Which that Glassjaw midnight show, I don't know what audience they thought they were playing to, but a bunch of people in their early and mid 30s did not want to be at a show at midnight.
Yeah.
So I remember that for you going back, you know, going to work, doing that. How did it make you feel like, okay, it's over, I'm just adjusting to civilian life? And then you met Sam after you got back together, though, right?
Yeah. I was dating a girl throughout the whole time. I was not like the band broke up. It was honestly like kind of terrifying for a while. First of all, I felt like I was like typical, like almost like pro athlete story where like the band was doing so well, and then kind of it I wouldn't say it nosedived quick, but it definitely like stalled out pretty quick, like over a few years. And so just being like a single guy, not having really any responsibility, like, you know, I lived my life however I wanted to live it, and then I realized the money stopped coming in like it was, and it was like, but I was trying to make it in like script writing. Like I was doing that.
You and
really
Kyle
hard.
And a few other guys.
And we had like written a couple pilots. I was like gonna move to LA at one point.
Gross.
And that's what it's funny. I my wife Sam, I said on the first date we were having, I was like, yeah, I'm probably going to be moving to LA in like a month or two or something like that. And she always gives me shit for it. She's like, LA, huh? You going to go there still? I'm like, but that, like, you know, I put all my eggs in that basket and trying to make that work. And like, obviously that's not a thing where it just happens.
Right.
So I was basically like running out of money and just getting stressed on that end of things.
And a couple of the other guys, like Aaron, had side projects, and he was working at that church, if I remember correctly.
Well, Aaron wasn't even in the band. He quit. Like in
because Daniel did the last tour with you, right?
Yeah, he did the last record. Like Aaron quit in like 2009. He was out until 2016. Like he was out for almost.
And he was doing the church thing, and he was doing
almost.
He had a side project, and then James had a business on the side.
James was doing merch line stuff. The merch company.
So this was prior to his current business.
Yeah. And then he was going to school. Like James is the guy that you're just like, oh, he's like the whatever guy, and he's like just crushing it behind closed doors. Like he just his seat was not CPA, it's something else for his accounting. Like he's got his master's, he's got all that stuff now. I'm just like, he's just doing it on tour.
Yeah.
You know? And you're just like, oh, why don't we see James? Oh, because he's just getting degrees. Yeah.
And then Tim had side stuff he was working on as well at the time.
Tim was managing for a while. He was managing a couple of rappers. Then he started King State, obviously. Mm-hmm. Spencer did Sleepwave. He did like solo stuff. Chris was he was doing IT stuff for a long time. Now he does like composes for like film and stuff like that, which is awesome. So I was the guy that was just like, I'm going to do this new field that I have no experience in. It's another creative field, and I can be good at it. And, you know, I truly enjoyed the process of doing it. But when it got to a breaking point where I needed actual money to survive, I was like, I got to get a job. So that's what I did. And I worked at that Symphonic Distribution for a couple of years. Good people.
What was the conversation? I'm sure Tim was the one that approached you, right? About... Because you guys were still friends, obviously. Good stuff.
Yeah.
But what was the conversation that was like, hey, I think we want to do this again? Because that was it was a 3-year break, right?
Yeah, it was. I mean, I was like, after a year, like, can we do this again? Like,
oh, so you were poking.
I was ready. Like, of course, I never wanted to break up.
Was there ever a moment where you were shopping yourself to other bands?
No, because I think that you either get super lucky and find a band that's already established in that level.
Mm-hmm.
And I was definitely not in the point where I want to go join a band like in a van and like try and make it again.
Yeah.
So no, but there was rough conversations probably like a year prior, and it was like, okay, well, like, dudes are doing this and this. Are you interested? And then it was like, okay, well, if we're gonna do something, maybe like next year when this album's this many years old, we can come back that way and stuff. And so it was probably like a year of conversations to where it really like turned into something real.
And then I remember you told me because I hadn't moved yet, but you had told me like, hey, we're new album, we're getting back together.
Yeah.
And I was stoked, and then I moved and we were hanging out and you showed me the new album.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh man, this is really good. This is a very angry version of Underoath that I haven't heard in a while.
Yeah.
And then I actually used the song as my intro for streaming for many, many years.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Oh yeah, no, I would get people all the time like, what band is this? What band is this?
Yeah.
This is Underoath. And then people would be like, Kevin's friends with the guys in Underoath. Sound like it. But yeah, I used the song. That comeback show though, because it was a secret. It was only like 500 people if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it was kind of just a warm up to, like, for us, we hadn't played a show in 3 or 4 years, and it was like, what can we do, where it'll be fun, kind of old, like, you have to worry about like production and security, all that stuff. We just go out there and play our stuff.
It's Crowbar, nobody cares.
Exactly.
Crowbar, for those that don't know, it's in Ybor in downtown Tampa. It's a very small venue.
It's a little dive bar,
500 people max situation, tiny stage.
400 is like
400
tops. Yeah,
and it's very old school, and that was the vibe. That's what I enjoyed. It felt like it was 2001 again,
and it was a place where we could literally just wait till the day before, put it on sale,
be like, hey,
and it was enough people were coming to I think we played Janice the next night there.
Mm-hmm.
Like the real Tampa St. Pete venue, and so enough people were already kind of coming to that from different areas, and were like, the tickets went super quick, and it was fun. That show is definitely like a memory for sure.
Oh, that was. I have pictures on my phone. I got videos. I remember because we went with Seth and Faith.
Yeah,
because I think they were still living here, or that was when they had come back
from Minneapolis.
Yeah, before they went back to Minneapolis. But I remember because then the one of the pylons towards the end, Seth was looking at me and I'm looking at him. I'm like, I'm not doing it. You can do it if you want. I'm too old for this shit. But I will go like this in the back.
We gotta go at least 3 fingers. What's hardcore? 2, 3.
And then that was a good night. After that, things moving. You have 2 albums under your belt now since coming back.
Yeah.
Has it felt normal again?
This year was the first year it felt normal. I mean, obviously,
COVID. I was going to ask you about COVID.
It was surreal coming back because we did the whole rebirth. We did the old albums, and it was like overwhelmingly successful. Like, it was just, again, like the right move to play those albums in full that everyone loved. It almost blew up your head too big to where like, oh, we're like better than ever now, and I think to a degree, like, we've stabilized on that stuff, but like, then COVID hit and, nobody did anything. We did Erase Me, which was like a different record. So, vibe wise, the one you used for the song, like, it was definitely a little bit more commercial, which was cool. We, kind of felt out a different area of the musical world. Like, we got to do like the Korn tour with Alice in Chains that we would never probably do before.
Mm-hmm.
Had some radio like success and stuff. And now it's like, we put up the Last Voyeurist, and it's definitely more, I think, Underoath record, like traditional, or just kind of a happy mix of everything, maybe.
I would say it's a happy mix of everything.
I think it's definitely more on the artistic side than Erase Me was. But, and now we're playing festivals, doing tours and stuff on a consistent basis. So it feels the most normal it can feel for being in post hard, whatever genre you want to call it, heavy rock band at over 40.
Are you hitting the younger demographic that's into metal right now? Like when you go to shows, are they the ones singing along to the new stuff and whatnot, or does it feel like older folks?
I think it's I think it's still older. You know, it's sometimes you'll have like parents come out with their high school kids that they got into the band or something like that, or like you have a lot of people like, oh, my older brother listen to you guys. Yeah, my older daughter loved you guys, and I mean, I can see you, now I can see you.
Yeah,
and then there's some younger, but I don't think that we're hitting it like. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I mean, you follow me on Instagram. I'm not a social media savant or anything like that. Right. Maybe my band is like, you know, it's the point where if we're gonna go that route, you have to hire someone,
right? Because
we just don't either have the time or the know-how or the care, really, as bad as that may sound. So I think when you're like, you know, what's like the younger, hotter big bands like the Beartooth and like Pierce the Veil and Bring Me the Horizon, and They Remember, like all those bands, like there's an element of being like probably 10 years younger than this they just have, you know,
right,
really attached to those audiences. So I think we're kind of on that borderline of being like, you know, we get called sometimes like a legacy band at this stage, which is a weird thing to hear, but you know, it's like also like, okay, that's cool. We want to obviously make newer, younger fans, but it's, you know, it seems like the market is way more diluted and there's so much out there and we are not as equipped to reach out to them. Like, again, like I feel like we got lucky,
right?
The way we were never trying to make it as a big radio band or anything like that.
No, I remember. Yeah.
Fell into
it. Happened.
So like, obviously that's only going to last so long. So now it's like, are you going to, at 41, like try and grind out to make that happen again or get back to that? Like, how would you look at me and be like, hey, how do you make yourself cool to a 16-year-old at 41? You're like, we're just going to do what we do and hopefully it works out. And like, I'm not going to like start wearing like neon tie-dye shirts or anything like that, you know, or.
Have you been called classic rock yet?
Not yet. Not classic yet.
You look at, like, I'm just going to use the term rock music because it just works in this, what I'm about to say. But you look at rock music, you look at bands, you know, the most prominent example would be like the Rolling Stones for how many years they've done this. I personally feel like you're going to see more of that with bands from this generation that play into their 60s still and whatnot. Do you feel the same way? Like that's probably the future in smaller venues, not selling out Ray J. But...
Sure, yeah. I don't think that's. I mean, I think that's kind of a lost. I don't want to say lost, but I mean, at this stage, like the rock star thing is kind of like the rock stars now are the Taylor Swifts and like things like that. And, and you know, rap and stuff. Like I don't think it's rock so much anymore. I think that you're right. I think you can. I think that the bands that have come this far.
Just like, keep going.
We'll keep going if they feel it, you know, viable. You know, like that's the big thing. Is like if people keep showing up, it doesn't happen. Like we're not like put it this way. Like we're not going out there and being like checking our numbers and being like, oh, we didn't sell at this club or we you know we're done. We're washed up. It's like okay, we just do what we do now.
Right.
And you know if it makes sense financially and time away from your family and it makes it worth the time and you're still having fun doing it, then yeah. But it's not like. We've got to the point where it's not like just our main job. It's a part of who we are. It's not who we are. It's part of who we are. So it's like, it could last forever. I mean, I don't know if my body can take it, but.
Well, you're all married. You all have kids at this point. So,
yes.
You know, the responsibility of being on the road 10 months a year, like you used to, is just
not
happening.
Yeah, it's not.
So, you know,
I don't want to be honest with you.
I don't think anyone in your band would want to be away from their kids that long. So, you know, it comes down to more or less saying, you know, we're going to do this for 4 months out of the year, spread out, and you know, play better shows that pay more money. And some people, you know, might look at that and be like, oh, they don't want to grind it anymore. But I mean, at the end of the day, that's it. Like, no, we don't want to grind it anymore. Like we just
had a conversation about this recently, and when we got back together, it was like we want to do the band 3 to 4 months a year. We don't want to like do it that way, and that was like 16.
Yeah,
like back in 2016. And obviously now like things have not changed in that regard, but I think it kind of came to the realization that Underoath at full time is probably 4 to 5 months a year. Like it's not we like for us to do 8 to 9 months a year doesn't work. Like there's not like the buzz, there's not the demand for it. You know, we have to space things out. Once you become like solidified in a market like that, you can't just overdo it. I mean, if you do, you're just basically shooting yourself in the foot.
Right.
So literally like 4 months a year is probably like 2 tours is probably full time for us as much as we can be.
Yeah. And Tim and I had this conversation at your wedding. We were talking about King State.
That's what you guys were talking about.
King State. Well, yeah, because we were talking about coffee. Because Tim from Underoath owns King State Coffee, which is based here in Tampa.
The enemy.
No. We had a really good conversation and I said if he ever wants to get into e-commerce, he could call me.
You want me to boycott them?
Well, no, as I get more into retail, I'm going to call him.
Yeah. No,
so, you know, it's not competition. We're buds, but we had a really good talk about, you know, the side businesses and how you can't just leave it like set it and forget it. There's a lot of work to be done. At this point, he had opened up the location in what was that new mall?
The one that didn't happen?
The one that he had to close down because of COVID. Lakeland.
Yeah.
He opened up the Lakeland one and he was really excited. And then going into COVID too, you know, COVID messed up so many plans for you. I remember you had to cancel a Slipknot tour because of COVID, didn't you?
Yeah.
And then I will say this, how you guys handled COVID was probably the most innovative thing I had seen. Forget about music, just in general, with the virtual shows.
Yeah, that was crazy. And Tension Division, the guys that did the artwork,
so talented,
are like big part of that. They also I don't know if you saw, they got nominated for a Grammy for Voyeurist. For
awesome.
the packaging for this last record. So.
And they did 21 Pilots stuff that they filmed at Diamond View over here.
Yeah, they've done 21 Pilots. They did the 30 Seconds to Mars. They've done a lot. I was surprised it was their first nomination for our
wow.
record. So yeah, because they've done so much good stuff. But stoked for those dudes. But yeah, like they came to us with this idea, and it was like, you know, people are doing this now. It's happening, and it was like, well, how can we do it, and how can we do it differently? And like the whole mindset was like, well, what would it kind of feel like obviously observatory, not to be cliche or, you know, tongue in cheek, but like, what would it feel like to be like in it,
right?
Like literally in it. And so like, you know, I mean, it was awesome. It was kind of terrifying playing live. Like you're playing with just, you know, live on a computer or whatever to people. So I'm sitting there going like, it's not like you can get away with things. Everyone hears everything because they were sitting at a desk watching you. So I'm like, if I mess up or something, or somebody messes up, everyone hears that. But then at the same time, you're trying to put on a show,
right,
to make it as entertaining as possible.
In an empty room.
In an empty room, and you have camera guys running in and out inside you, and like with strobe lights and stuff, and like trying not to smash a, you know, $80,000 camera or whatever. So
speaking of being old too, that was like, I thoroughly enjoyed it because I think I tweeted or Instagrammed a picture of me with like a glass of scotch on my couch, like enjoying Underoath while I sit on my damn couch. And that was 2 years ago now.
Yeah,
because I remember my Christmas tree was up.
2020, right? In fall or whatever, or something.
Yeah. So but the way you handled that, to the point where I reached out to Randy, your manager, and was like, you know. And then I spoke to Tim about the studio space because we want to do something similar for GCX. We actually talked about Randy, about you guys doing it for GCX. Yeah. But budget just wasn't there. And then we talked to, you know, the band Starfield. Mm-hmm. We talked to them too about doing it. And then we talked to Columbia Records about having some hip hop artists from South Florida. But it all came down to budget.
We've had loose talks recently about trying to do that live in a venue, like for people,
like a hybrid.
Yeah, like I don't know if it'll ever happen because the whole cool thing about it is like having people have that like intimacy, not being like I'm watching a band on stage, but being like in it. And you know, we talked about like, oh, can we do like a center stage kind of thing?
I know where you could do that. I'll tell you off camera.
I mean, there's definitely places I know we could do it too. We can make it our own thing, but we were talking about like,
someone else did it. That's why.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'll tell you off camera.
Okay. Off camera, guys.
But because in case you want to, I don't want to steal a thunder. In case you want to take it to Tim, I don't want someone else hearing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you guys mitigated COVID pretty nicely. Back on the road now. Things are moving forward.
That was so stressful.
I remember because we were talking a lot during that period.
Got married a month before COVID. the same time.
You did get married a month before COVID.
Moved in together 2 months before that, and then
Bought a house.
She got pregnant the month after that, the first kid. Bought a house, and then it was like, okay, now you're not working for at least a year, 2 years, who knows? And so like the observatory thing, like even on that level, just like was like huge for me, because it was just like, I don't have like a degree to back up. I've been in the band since I was like 20 or whatever. So yeah, that was sick. And again, like those guys, Tension Division just crushed it. They have such a good vision on things.
Yeah. So within the confines of what you can talk about, anything on the horizon that folks?
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
tour, obviously.
Some new music in the works. Nothing like an album at this point, but some new stuff working. Tours in the works for next year. And then just like more business stuff that you can't really talk about, but like, stuff with like, we're trying to get more into like incorporated with like our merch stuff and stuff like that, and just doing kind of more like special things.
Yeah, I mean the merch portion of the observatory was like 50% of what made it special.
Yeah, it was cool to be able to like reissue like the vinyls and stuff and like all that stuff.
So more stuff like that in that vein.
Yeah, we've been kind of in a tight spot with that, which I can't really talk about as far as rights and stuff. So we're trying to kind of like free ourselves if possible to a degree, and just if that happens, we'll have more control, so it's kind of worth the time and the investment. Yeah,
because you've been self-sufficient, no label.
Yeah, well,
you were Fearless.
Who put out the last one, but then everything at Fearless just like somebody threw a deck of cards in the ground, everything shuffled there, so it's like a completely different, almost not a different label, but just a lot of people that we were with aren't there or moved around or something. So now we're just kind of like we're on our own at the moment. So I'm sure something will work out, but
it's almost beneficial at this era to be on your own, because things have changed so much. It's not like that tooth and nail solid state era where you needed a label.
It isn't like I think it is I think the benefits for us, like I said earlier, like because we're old and kind of like, I don't want to say out of touch, that sounds lame, but like having a team that can work the elements that we're not as good at, our weaknesses is, so, but obviously having full control is also awesome too. So there's a balance.
You're a huge nerd just like me.
Yes, I am a nerd.
I'm moving away from Underoath into nerd stuff.
Let's go.
What's the best thing out there right now that you're into? TV, movie, comic, gaming, whatever. Like what's tickling your fancy right now?
Okay, so best show that I've seen since probably Game of Thrones.
Did you enjoy House of the Dragon?
House of the Dragon was good. It started really bad and then it got good for me. Ended on a good note. Severance.
What's that?
Apple TV.
Apple TV. Who's in that?
I don't know his name. The main guy is such a bad reference. Is the older brother in Step Brothers, Will Ferrell's brother. What's his name? He's
God, John.
He's in Parks and Rec.
Him, yeah.
So it's an Apple TV show, and I don't want to give it away, but it's just, I'll give a rough premises. Basically, I think it's present day-ish, maybe a little more in the future. And basically, he goes to work at this company, and they have a thing where they implant a chip in their brain. And when they go to work, they forget about their outside life for the 8 hours they're there.
That's creepy.
And so they're just like, so they basically have like two personalities, two lives,
your work life and your home life,
and you know about each other, but you can't really interact with each other. And then it's just like that kind of unraveling, and just the story. It's pretty wild.
Did you watch C on Apple TV with Jason Momoa?
I watched we watched the first 3 episodes, me and Sam. It was good for what it was.
I was shocked how they got good fight scenes out of a show about blind people.
Yeah, it was really good fight scenes. Hard for me to really buy, but at the same time, a cool concept
It's Jason Momoa, though. You can suspend your disbelief for Jason Momoa.
Yeah. Like if someone came to me and was like, we're going to do the show about everyone being blind, I'd be like, this is never going to work.
I said that when I read the premise, I was like, this is the dumbest show.
Yeah.
But then I watched it and I was like, this show's really good.
I think we're 3 or 4 in, but and not because we just don't have time. Like we were
It's over now too. Like the 3rd season is the end of the show, and they
okay.
Like they ended it. Like it's not a cliffhanger cancellation.
I'm just like, I watched like 3 or 4 episodes. Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, no, the 3rd season, it's like show's over.
Yeah,
wrap it up. I love shows that do that. Like they know their end point, and they.
Yeah.
Battlestar Galactica was one that, like, we know where show's over. We're going to end the show and move forward.
Yeah, as long as it's I mean, you never want it to end as a fan, but you
Except
also
for,
respect the fact when it does.
I feel like you know what I'm about to say, except for Lost, which was the worst ending to a television show ever.
Me and my wife still fight about what the ending was, the what it meant, and I'm just like, because
Unitarian bullshit.
Yeah, and I'm just because I rewatched it and I did like a 6-week binge on it. And
did you just get depressed after season 4 because it's just so damn good?
That's when I stopped watching it live.
Okay,
so I went back and binged the whole thing, and I was like, this ending sucks. I feel just empty inside.
Horrible.
Yeah.
Especially after everything JJ promised us.
Yeah.
And then he left the show to go make Star Wars.
Yeah.
That was Star Trek. So.
I mean, that's kind of how it is, though, with a lot of shows. I feel like it's just like you.
How many shows has Star Wars ruined? That's think about it. They ruined Game of Thrones.
They ruined it. I mean, that's a tough one because that's a hard wrap up for me. Like, how do you wrap that up? That's such an epic show.
Oh, I mean, you could have had 5 more episodes, but George R. R. Martin said from day one it needed a minimum of 10 seasons. Minimum.
Yeah.
Minimum.
Well, he also, takes 4 pages to write about a piece of bread. So,
you know who's worse than him is who's the guy that writes Wheel of Time, Paul? Brandon Sanderson?
Brandon Sanderson. Well, there's also
who's the original author?
Let me double check.
That guy, the Wheel of Time author. He will spend 6 pages showing you like the decor in a room.
I mean, it's Tolkien.
Tolkien does the same thing.
I enjoyed the show though, Wheel of Time.
Ernest Hemingway, Moby Dick, the whole like literally
yes.
chapters on
Yeah, there's a few. Did you? I'm assuming you didn't like the Lord of the Rings show.
I did. I liked it.
I enjoyed
it. Such high expectations.
Yeah, that was my problem.
And that was my problem too. The budget, the hype, because I love the movies, obviously, like the whole lore behind it.
It's gorgeous. It is a gorgeous show. Some of the acting and the writing was meh.
Yeah.
And it felt to me it was like fan fiction.
Yeah.
But I'm in. Like, I'll watch it and I'll enjoy it for what it is.
I was not happy with the end reveal. I was just like, this is not what I want that character to be.
I said on this podcast a few weeks ago when we covered the ending that I blame the Tolkien estate more than I blame Amazon for not giving them the full rights to everything.
Yeah.
Because if you gave them the full rights, they wouldn't have to like twist and turn and tell the story.
Yeah. Which like probably almost everyone doesn't know that, but like audience wise.
Yeah, they think they have all. I'm like, no, they only have the rights to the appendices from the Lord of the Rings books and the Hobbit.
Yeah.
Which is just footnotes.
Yeah.
So they can't say certain names. So I blame the estate because apparently Netflix pitched them to like MCU Middle Earth, and the Tolkien estate got scared and said no.
It's a shame.
I was like, yeah, because that would have been awesome. But Netflix has the Narnia rights.
Yeah.
You never read those as a kid?
I read them, but then
Wheel of Time author is Robert Jordan.
Robert Jordan.
Okay.
He will take 6 pages to describe what a wall in a room looks like.
Passionate man.
Very. I mean, he passed away, but yeah. So yeah, there's
the books are great, by the way. Narnia. I just hate the movies, but the movies are kids' movies, so whatever.
The Narnia ones.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean those movies. So my guess is, and I hope this is that they will do a 7-season show, and each book will be a season.
That'd be cool. I mean, I'll obviously watch it,
right?
But I'll watch anything at this point because that's my free time.
The movies were campy; they were Disney, and it was some of the casting was good, some of it was meh. But the books, especially, that's the thing is like people always concentrate because the first one's like the Christian allegory. I was like, do you get to the end because it gets dark by the end. It's
trying to get my daughter to read that.
Are you excited for new Marvel? Everything they announced in August, I think.
I'm excited because it's just content to watch, but I'm not like I guess this is where like the nerd in me kind of steps out. where I'm not aware of everything that's happening.
Right.
There's so many side stories and things that I'm trying to like keep up with, the TV shows and stuff. It's just like, and some of it's good and some of it to me is not good.
I just finished Moon Knight, so I'm behind.
Didn't enjoy Moon Knight.
I liked it. I
didn't enjoy Miss Marvel. I ironically liked She-Hulk, which not because I think it was good Marvel. I think it was just written. I like the main girl. I think she acted well in it. But I think that it was, you know, like I said, there's just so much to keep up with now. It's becoming like a job, and I'm like, now to like watch a movie and fully understand, I have to see like 5 other things.
Well, imagine when Miles gets older and he starts getting into Marvel like superheroes and be like, "Hey, I have 60 movies for you to watch and 14 TV shows."
Right. We're gonna sit down for 4 weeks here and
well, that's why my oldest doesn't want to watch through all of it because she's seen some of them.
Yeah,
and I'm like, "Oh, you got to get to Infinity War. That's where it gets really good." And she's like,
yeah.
Do I want to watch all of these? So,
I'm trying to force my oldest to watch the Harry Potters, and that's a chore right now.
Danielle and I just watched through all of them finally last year.
We're going to Universal.
Wait, when are you going?
In December.
When?
I don't know. I think the 17th? No.
Shut up.
Maybe. Are you going?
Yes. I'm there the whole weekend.
Okay, well, for there, we'll definitely.
Well, we're getting a drink.
That's right. Get some butterbeer. But
no, it's like freaking diabetic coma in a cup.
It's so worth it.
No, it's not. It's
you have to get it. And you go to the inside spot and you get a little thing of vodka and you throw it in there.
Oh, I didn't know you could do that. I got to learn the Universal tricks. This is my first time staying on property.
Oh, nice.
We'll
be there too.
Are you staying there too?
Mm-hmm.
I won't say where we're staying, but let's talk off camera.
But we're trying to get basically like, I'm like, there's a whole Harry Potter world. Like you need to like, you know, see it. She's like 7, so she's like kind of in that phase where she kind of gets it, but not really. And I'm like, so the hurricane came like, you know, whatever, a month ago, and like I literally sat her down. I was like, we're watching Harry Potter, and so she watched the whole movie, and then we watched the second movie, and she sat through almost all of it, and then she's like, I don't like them. I was like, you just watched like 4 or 5 hours of it without like glued to the TV. She's like, it's not for me.
My years ago when I was streaming and I hadn't watched them yet, I was getting chastised for not watching them, and a comment happened that really ruined Harry Potter for me for a while, and someone said it's better than Lord of the Rings, and I know how much you like that. And now I have Potterheads going, whoever said that to you lied. Yeah. That's not true. Yeah. Most people say they're completely different, they can't even be compared. And now that I've seen them all, I'm like, yeah, why didn't someone just say they're completely different and can't be compared? Because they can't. It's just not the same.
No,
it's a non-equivalency. So I enjoyed them. Especially the last movie. I thought Deathly Hallows 2 was just awesome.
Yeah.
Are you excited for the game? Because I'm kind of really excited for the game.
The stuff I've seen looks awesome. Definitely stoked for it.
What house are you going to join though?
Slytherin.
You would. I think I'm going to go Ravenclaw and be really like.
Oh, you're so hard.
One of those.
Yeah.
Like I'm not mainstream.
I'm ahead of the curve, guys.
Well, if you go Gryffindor, it's like, oh, look at you goody two shoes.
Yeah.
If you go Slytherin, they're like, whoa, we got a badass in here. Yeah. Hufflepuff, everyone's just gonna laugh at you. So what's left?
I think the game will be sweet. I hope, you always have high hopes. Like I said, I've been burnt on a lot of games lately, so I'm kind of just like.
Yeah, we were talking about that before. I know you're looking forward to God of War.
Well, I got it. Yeah, when it comes to Xbox.
When you get it,
because I'm an Xbox guy solo now. I used to have literally 2 Xboxes and 2 PlayStations in my house in each room, so I could.
There's no reason besides PlayStation exclusives to own a PlayStation anymore. None. Zero. Zilch. Nada.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been Xbox just for the multiplayer party, like my friends kind of.
Everyone has Xbox.
Yeah,
and it's just a better. I mean, I won't.
But all their features suck. Like all their new features to me, like from every system, I'm like.
So does PlayStation.
Even like what's the new one? Like the whole XS thing, like the resume play or whatever it is, like the quick resume
doesn't work.
Fails every time. I have to restart the game every time. Like this is. I would rather just start the game up, please. Just take this off.
It's just silly. Well, thanks for coming out, dude.
Yeah,
appreciate it. It's always good to catch up with you. We'll have to do off camera. Danielle was like, tell Grant that I texted Sam a few months back, but she was probably knee deep in baby stuff, but I don't want to bother her again. I was like, I will tell him.
No.
Just so, then you tell Sam and then you're like, I'm sorry.
Get the fans together.
Yeah. I mean, I'm off Christmas week. We have a week off? No, we have a week and a day, right?
23rd all the way through.
Oh, you're trying to hang out on Christmas holiday.
Well, after Christmas,
I'm just kidding.
maybe if you want. If not, January. We'll
Oh.
get the kids together. Well, we might be hanging out at Universal apparently too. So
Yes. I need somebody to go on that Jurassic Park roller coaster
please,
with me.
because no one from my family is going to go on it with me.
No.
No. All right. This is good. This is working out.
Yes.
I have a roller coaster buddy for the
Yeah,
weekend.
for real.
Says my son is just not roller coaster friendly, and the little one doesn't like loud noises. So
Yeah, I tried to take my daughter on Space Mountain last year, and it ended up with just hysteria.
Before we go, funny story with kids in Space Mountain. My oldest, when she was younger, we took her on Space Mountain, and she was screaming bloody murder, and I was behind her.
Oh yeah, because it's single.
Right, and
Which I
Danielle's
forgot
in
when I
front
got
of her,
up there.
and the picture is Danielle turned around trying to comfort her.
You're
Me,
grabbing her shoulders
like
the
over
same
there.
way.
I killed my shoulders because I was like this the entire time trying to hold on to her, and so the picture's me going like this, Danielle turning around trying to console her, and she's just like, ah!
Yeah, I did a mistake where like right halfway through the ride, it was like the stop, like the even out, and it goes, and I was like, all right, it's over, babe, we made it.
No, it's not.
And then immediately she's like, I don't trust you or anything. And I really had to carry her from off the ride. She was crying so bad all the way up this whole, through the gift shop, all the way outside to mom. Because it was like, whatever.
Yep. All right. Anything you want to promote or say before we get out of here?
No, I'm good. King's Coast, King State, whatever,
Coffee
is good.
What's the band's website these days? I don't even remember.
We're still 777.
Underoath777.com.
Yeah.
There you go. Underoath777.com. Stay up to date on everything. Grant, as always, pleasure. And
Thanks for having me.
Oh, dude, anytime. Anytime. I'm going to have you back for games next time.
Let's do it.
We'll play like Turtles or something. Something stupid and
kick your
old.
ass in the NHL. It's been like 4 years you've been talking.
I'm so bad at the new version of it, too. All right. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week for Old Fashioned. Easy peasy.
Sweet.
I didn't even have to dig into my case we had nothing to talk about, Carl.
Oh, no, I can bullshit for hours, dude. Not bullshit, just talking.
It's literally just us at the bar.
Yeah, exactly.